Today we're going to touch on three things that play into making the decision of entering the woods correctly that first time going to the stand in the early season, and why I feel that 9 times out of 10 your best bang for your buck, if you will, your highest percentage sit is an evening sit early season. Number one is I like to promote is you have to stockpile. You have to know the facts that got you to this point. You have to understand your card pulls. You have to your trail camera footage. All this has to be stockpiled and determined why you're there and when you have to be there. So there are some situations still that folks just haven't went and tapped into the world, if you will, of the trail cameras. And folks, if you're listening to this, I highly recommend that you consider that. And I'm acknowledging, as I'm saying that, I'm acknowledging that there's not all budgets permit that. But if I have one thing to teach you about having a successful early season, is stockpiling your facts. And those facts in this day and age are can be polished with a trail camera. So there's all kinds of different platforms. I'm going to be bringing you some information on the new Meyer cameras that we're switching to, but whether that's whatever manufacturer that is, I highly recommend that you implement the trail cameras into that spectrum, into your arsenal, if you will, to stockpile the information that you need to make the determination. And that's the reason that I end up coming up with a 9 times out of 10, the first sit into the woods is an evening sit, unless your facts are highly on the high percentage side, that you know that you can get in and out of that stand location, and whether you send an arrow down range or not, that after the evening sit is complete and you need to get out, that you're not setting the highest, you're not setting the pressure spectrum phase 1 into overdrive, if you will, by not being able to get out of that stand location. And that ties into not hunting food plots and everything else that I teach here. So facts is number one. Make sure you know, and you're 100% confident on your facts of where you're at on an evening sit, or the first sit in general. Number two is strategy. Strategy ties in obviously to the facts. You have to know why you're in that location, why the facts are the proving point. The strategy is the reason, if you will. So the strategy is, what is the draw? Is it the food plots that you're not hunting on, but you're hunting the deer going to? What's in that food plot that that's being sought after? Is it your winter wheat, your rye, your grains, more so than your turnips that might not be mature? The old myth, guys, that the deer won't eat the turnips or brassicas until they freeze. That's a myth. So that's one of your strategies that you have to know going into it. Why am I in this location? How do I get into this location? And what I sometimes use, and I've said this before to clients, and I'll probably say it again, is strategy starts in the night before, at the truck, let's say, or in the cabin, or in the morning, determining, just touching base on that point again, like, is this the right decision that I need to do? Don't over stress that point, but you have to be able to take these strategies. Is it the water hole that I'm focusing on? Is your opener going to be in the 90-degree mark, and you really feel that the water hole is going to be their draw, which I find that the water holes are sometimes thought to be a draw. But even in the early season, especially, guys, as these deer are meeting their water requirements from everywhere that they throughout their 5 feedings of the day, throughout their 24 hours a day that they meet, they do not need the water holes. The reason that we implement the water holes, the reason I implement the water holes and that I teach to implement them, is the fact that they are a sought after location, a stopping point, just a quick stopping point, a checkpoint along with your mock scrapes in the pre-rut, in the rut, because it's a need. Then they need that water requirement because they're not getting it in the because everything else is dry and dead, and they're eating the they're eating that roughage, they're eating that woody browse, and their palate is dry, and they're chasing does, they're on their feet more. That's when the water tanks come in. So strategize, is the water tank really as powerful as you think it is? If it's 90 degrees, then you probably are on the right track. If it's not 90 degrees on your opener, strategize, go back to your facts of the camera, really know what the strategy is. As the strategy, how do you get into your stand location? If you don't set a narrow down range, like I said, and it's still a successful sit because you didn't get busted or you didn't get winded in the tree stand, but now you need to get out. Can you get out of that stand location so you don't interrupt the rest of your success throughout the rest of the year? And that's something that's overlooked by a lot of folks. Is it's the opener. I wanna be in the tree stand the opening morning. I want to see daybreak from my stand. It's the same stand that I've done it for 25 years, and that's where I'm going to be. And that ties into not only the October 1st opener, but the gun opener in a lot of states is that same mentality, and that can get folks into a lot of trouble going forward into the rest of the year. So the strategy ties into the facts, but the strategy is just the next step of understanding, really knowing why I'm here. The facts are, like I said, the facts are your proving, and then the strategy is the reason. This is the reason that I'm here, is the water hole, or is the deer that are transitioning, I'm behind the does and they're transitioning out into that feed location, and I really feel that this is my highest percentage of making it happen. You have to know that. You have to be so confident. And when I say 100%, I'm a strategy guy, especially early season. I love early season hunts, and that's usually the reason that I end up in, if it's a situation where the farm is that good and the facts are that strong, usually I'll usually opt for an evening sit, is because that ties into number 3 here, stand choice, which stand you're going to be in. Now, obviously, you got to take number 1, your facts. You got to take number 2, your strategy, and then you have to pick that stand location. The number 3, the last and final approach, is knowing where you're going. And that ties into the point that I was going to make on one of the reasons why I choose an evening sit. All year, all summer, especially this year when we start creeping up on that September mark, guys that are watching this, that you're, like Wisconsin, that's going to be opening this year, the 12th and the 13th of September, all of this passion is building. And when you overlook, maybe you've overlooked 1, you've overlooked step 2, and it becomes we're going to the woods and this is the stand that I'm going to be in, and I can't wait for that daylight opener, is what happens is you, I get it, I know everybody else gets it, is you go into these stands and it's the first sit. So you're not only, when you leave the truck, you're going in there, hopefully your bright eyes are in the right spot and it's easy with your amber lights, but you rush. It's a rush situation. You left the cabin late, you left the house late, you're trying to get to the farm. All of these things combined into making a crash course for a first sit, being the first sit on the farm, especially in a really good stand, being a morning sit, is because you're fumbling, you're a train wreck, let's say, in a lot of cases. You're getting in there, you're making way more noise than you have to, versus taking your time, getting into an evening stand location, where all your facts, all your strategy, all the stars have aligned, if you will, and it's proving to you that you can take your time. You know that you can take your time. You're walking in, obviously it's in the daylight. You're not stepping on those sticks, and to me, it sets your your mentality, your tree stand mentality, of your etiquette of getting into the stand, taking your time, not being a solid ball of sweat when you get there. And early season, most of the time it's warm too, and a lot of time it's warm. And you know, you're getting into that stand location, you're taking a deep breath, you're making sure your bow hanger's there, and you're just it's a lot of it's just enjoying the hunt. I've heard time and time again. I've been there myself. You know, I feel pretty blessed that a lot of my clients will reach out to me as they're in the trees, and it will shock you how many text messages I get saying, "Hey, you know, what are you seeing this morning?" And I answer, "Hey, I'm not in the tree stand." And they're like, "What? Are you crazy? You're not in the tree stand on opening morning." And the reason that is just that is, if that facts and if that strategy is showing that that mature buck is going to be there, and I know that I can get into that location without blowing him on a morning, you can bet that I'll be there. And you know, I love killing mature bucks the first week of October, just like everyone else. But the strategy that I've used, and this, you know, dating back to the days of guiding, is you have to know that the one wrong step can start that phase one, put that phase one of pressure into overdrive, and this just snowballs through the rest of the year. So that's one of the strongest points, the reason that I choose to make my first approach into my farm, especially if it's a you know, a loaded farm, if you will, and wherever that is in the country, not just here at home in Michigan, but you know, if I'm down in Illinois, I happen to be there down the opener. That all stockpiles, all that information that I've collected, all plays into making that determination. And 9 times out of 10, I'll find myself choosing that evening sit versus the morning sit, is because I know that I can get into that stand. I know that I can take my time. I'm in there. I'm taking a survey of what's happening. I'm watching some deer movement, and versus being in a rush and not using my brain and making, you know, crazy mistakes and getting lost in the dark on the first way to a stand. All that stuff ties into it. And but like I'm said before, and I'll say it again, is if your facts, if your strategies, if your number one, your facts, number two, your strategies, you know in your heart that that is one of the best sits on a farm, whether it's a new set or later in the season, but the highest percentage chance that you have to harvest a buck sometimes, is a deer in general, is the first set, the first time into your farm, is because there's no pressure related to that, right? And but that can also be, you can also blow your perfect evening set by trying to push the envelope and getting in there in the morning just because you want to be in that tree stand on the first daylight of the opener. So try to step back and look at the facts. Make sure your strategy is a proven strategy, is a strategy that you know that the deer are using, and you know, tie that into the number 3. And I think your stand location, you're going to find, like I said, 9 times out of 10, it's the best situation is to go into that. You know, try to go in that a little off the path of destruction, if you will. Get into that stand in the evening set. Enjoy yourself. We've all waited to get there, and really set that stage for the rest of the season by not screwing it up by just wanting to be in there and over pressuring that stand, you know, the first time in. So those are the 3 things that I use to determine where I'm going to be that first sit in an early season set, and if I'm going to be there in a morning versus a PM. And like I said, 9 times out of 10, guys, you'll find that at early season, you're better opting towards the evening sit.